Hello, this is Leroy Meadows, and welcome to this session. And in this session, we're going to deal with exercise 20-26 at the end of chapter 20, inventory management, just in time, and simplified costing methods. So let's go ahead and get started here. The Knot manufactures men's neckwear at a Spartanburg plant. The Knot is considering implementing a just-in-time production system. The following are the estimated costs and benefits of just-in-time production. Annual additional tooling costs, $250,000 annually. So these costs are going to be if we implement the just-in-time system. Additional tooling costs of $250,000 on a yearly basis. Average inventory would decline by 80% from the current level of $1 million. The third thing that would happen is that insurance, space, materials handling, and setup costs, which currently total $400,000 a year annually, would decline by 20%. Next, the emphasis on quality inherent in just-in-time production would reduce rework costs by 25%. The Knot currently incurs $160,000 in annual rework costs. And then finally, improved product quality under just-in-time production would enable the Knot to raise the price of its products by $2 per unit. The Knot sells 100,000 units each year. So the Knot's required rate of return on the inventory investment is 15% per year. So we're asked to do three things. First of all, we're asked to calculate the net benefit or cost to the Knot if it adopts just-in-time production at the Spartanburg plant. Two, we're going to look at what non-financial and qualitative factors should the Knot consider when making the decision to adopt a just-in-time production system. And then three, suppose the Knot implements a just-in-time production system at a Spartanburg plant, give examples of performance measures the Knot could use to evaluate and control just-in-time production. And then what would be the benefit of the Knot implementing an enterprise resource planning system. So we're going to do a detailed analysis in this exercise here. So let's go ahead and get started by first answering requirement 1. Calculate the net benefit or cost to the Knot if it adopts just-in-time production at the Spartanburg plant. So remember, under the decision-making process, we want to know what is going to be relevant information. Irrelevant information is not going to be needed because it has no bearing on our decision-making process. So what things would change from the current production system if we change to a just-in-time purchasing system? This is where we're going to get our information here, and that is what's going to help us make our decision. So what was the first thing? Well, we're told annual tooling costs would be $250,000 annually. So I can just add in here annual tooling costs. Then what happens? Well, average inventory would decline by 80% from the current level of $1 million. So my inventory level is going to shrink from $1 million to 200,000. Now, what I'm looking for here, or what's being asked of us, is the required rate of return. So let's see. So our 15% required rate of return is going to be 15% of the inventory that we have. So for every dollar of inventory, I want an extra 15% added on as my required rate of return. I'm going to build that in. So under the current production system, how much inventory do I have? Well, I have $1 million. So when I take $1 million and multiply that by 15%, my required rate of return on my investment in my inventory is going to be $150,000 under the current production system. Now, what is going to be the required rate of return I have if I take the and I make the just in, and I incorporate the just-in-time purchasing system? Well, it says my annual inventory would decline by 80%. So my average inventory would be from 1 million times. So I'll only keep 20% of that at any one time. So 200,000. So what is my required rate of return on that 200,000? Well, if it's 15%, then it needs to be $30,000. And let's just go ahead and format all these here. Okay, so what's the next thing I need to incorporate or look at? Insurance space, materials handling, and setup costs, which currently total $400,000 annually, would decline by 20%. So my insurance, space, materials handling, and my setup costs. And let me go ahead and they're currently at $400,000, but they're going to be reduced by what? 20%. So $400,000 times 0.8. So my annual insurance, space, materials handling will come down from $400,000 to $320,000. What about the cost of rework in part D here? The emphasis on quality inherent in just-in-time would reduce rework costs by 25%. Currently incurs $160,000 annual rework costs. So I want to take that in consideration because that's going to be different between the alternative courses of action. Currently, it's $160,000. And that is going to be what? 160 times what? 0.75. So my rework cost would be 120,000. The next thing I need to consider is the change in revenue, part E here. Improved product quality under just-in-time production would enable the knot to raise the price of its product by $2 per unit. The knot sells 100,000 units each year. So because of these extra costs I'm incurring for a just-in-time system, let's see, incremental. And let's wrap that too. So what am I going to get beneficial? Well, I'm going to get an additional $200,000 of revenue, which is, and that's 100,000 units we sell each year, times $2 per unit that we're going to be able to charge more. So in this case, the extra revenue is going to offset some of the costs that I'm incurring under this just-in-time system that I otherwise would not get by keeping my current production system. So what do we have here? So my total net incremental costs is going to be what? 710,000 under the current system, 520,000 under the new just-in-time system. So if I implement the just-in-time system, when I take everything into account that's relevant between both alternatives, then it's going to cost me to maintain my current production system $710,000, whereas under the just-in-time purchasing system, the net cost is $520,000. So I have an annual difference of $190,000 in favor of adopting the just-in-time purchasing system, because although I am having more costs and all these higher costs with annual tooling costs, or some other costs come down, but I'm also offsetting a lot of those costs, which with additional revenue that I could not otherwise charge um, in my current production system. So, so that is the net benefit if we adopt the just-in-time production at the Spartanburg plant. Now, the next thing we have to look at here is what non-financial and qualitative factors should they not consider when making the decision to adopt just-in-time production. Well, one of the first things I'm going to look at is having some type of detailed system where I can integrate all the sequential operations, you know, uh, the way that things go in the production process. I need to integrate those sequential operations in the manufacturing process. I need that. Why? Because direct materials have got to arrive just when we need them for each subassembly. Because if I don't have the materials, or if I have too many materials, then I just have wasted inventory just sitting around. If I don't have enough inventory, what happens? Then I have to shut down, and things do not run smoothly. So I want to be able to keep everything running smoothly. Can we design products that have a standardized type of that use standardized material so we can reduce manufacturing time? Can we get vendors who are going to be reliable, who can deliver quality direct materials on time, and then also kind of minimize that lead time, because we want to be able to order those materials just when we need those. We don't, if we can, we would like to avoid having long, unpredictable wait times from the time that we order it to the time that we receive our order. So we want to see if we can have a minimum lead time on that. What about suppliers willing to make smaller and more frequent orders? Are suppliers willing to do that? Some suppliers may not be. Some suppliers may be. Can we deliver a quality product on time? What happens if we don't have the customers order when they want it? Well, they're not going to be happy. Or what if we have their customers order, but it's not quality product? They're not going to be happy. So we want to make sure we're giving them a quality product, and we're giving it to them when we say we're going to give it to them. What about the skill level of workers? For example, if I have some workers who are only able to do one thing and one thing only, that's not as flexible and that's not as useful to me as a manager or as an owner. If I only have a person being able to do one thing or two things. However, if I have cross-trained employees who not only know how to run the machines, but who also can spot quality issues, make minor repairs, do testing, if these if these employees can do multiple things, then they're more valuable to me. Why? Because they can watch the whole process. They're trained. They know when something's going to happen, or not when something's going to happen. They will know when something happens that the product is not good. We need to pull it. So they are my employees who are cross-trained and trained on multiple tasks are going to be they're going to be considered higher skilled workers, and these workers are going to be very valuable to me as an employer. Why? Because I can minimize my quality issues while maximizing my productivity. The third thing we're asked is, suppose that not implements the just-in-time production at its Spartanburg plant. Give some examples of performance measures that NOT could use to evaluate and control just-in-time production. So what things could we do? Well, we could sit there and observe, but what things could we do? Well, we could measure our manufacturing lead time, the time we get an order to the time it's out the door, ready to go. What about the number of units produced per hour? the number of defective units divided by the number of units completed. So what is my spoilage rate? So there's some key performance measures or key performance indicators that we could use to control the just-in-time production system. And what would be the benefit of the not implementing an enterprise resource planning system? Well, if we have an enterprise resource planning system, remember it's one single database that encompasses all the data about the company. And if we have that, then because it's a single database, lower level managers, workers, suppliers could have access to the key information that's relevant to them so they can make timely decisions because that information is going to be updated continuously. It's going to be real time updated, so we'll be able to see something here. Say, 15 minutes ago, someone placed an order. Okay, now I need to start putting that order together. Someone called in and applied a payment to their account. Okay, then I will be able to see that payment on the account within just a few moments, and therefore it can take it out of, let's say it's a customer who's been paying late and their order's been on hold because they haven't been paying their bills. This could free, an enterprise resource planning system. Since it is a one single database, it can affect everybody in there, and it would generally be good under a just-in-time system, especially a purchasing system such as the one the company is wanting to implement here, for a whole host of different reasons. What about sudden orders? Sudden heavy demand of orders. All of a sudden we are scheduling projections. We're projecting, let's say maybe 30,000 units being sold this week, and all of a sudden someone places an order for 80,000 units. Having that information in one single database allows things to be sent, one, to all of our suppliers, to all of our relevant suppliers that, hey, we need this because we have a large order, and then combined with the non-financial and qualitative factors we looked at in part 2 about their supplier lead time, getting quality products from them, and so forth. Having an enterprise resource planning system is going to be beneficial because then everybody is able to respond at one time. A lot of this is going to be automated and so forth, but we have that information here at our fingertips. So across the value chain for us, and then also across the supply chain, whether it's the supply chain is part of inside of our company or extends to companies or other vendors of ours outside the company. So this was exercise 20-26 out of the chapter Inventory Management, Just-in-Time and Simplified Costing Methods. This is Leroy Meadows. Thank you for joining me. Have a good day.